Football talk. Josh, we have some breaking news if you want to cover that pertaining to tonight's game.
Yes, we have some breaking news that Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman are expected to be inactive for tonight's game for the Baltimore Ravens. We also saw a report earlier today that said that who's their RB1 right now, Jared? Who's the new guy in town? Whoever the new guy is in town, he's going to have a bulk of the carries.
Latavius?
No, not Latavius. The guy, Tyson Williams. Thank you,
Tyson Williams.
Vanas. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kept thinking Tyrod, and I don't,
No.
obviously, because we've been talking about Taylor, but Tyson Williams is going to have a bulk of the carries. Harbaugh said that earlier this morning, or beat reporter said that earlier this morning. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what Baltimore is going to be able to do, and if they truly do give him a bulk of the carries.
Agreed. I was just trolling you with the Latavius thing. I think that's kind of hilarious that they're the top 2015-16 running backs. Anyway,
For sure.
Yeah, let's move over here and talk about some Monday Night Football. All right. So the obvious thing here, and I saw this as we were talking about it, Latavius Murray is now in the player pool. So he actually, for me, is not I can't cross him off the list now with this news. It's just not going to be a thing that I can do. Trenton Cannon is also in the mix. I don't think he's in play, but he's in the mix. So just keep that in mind. I think on the depth chart now, that means that there are 3 active backs for tonight's game against the Las Vegas Raiders, 4 if you include Lamar Jackson. So let's just break this down here. The first thing that stands out to me is that Lamar Jackson is 17,000. We do not see very many quarterbacks get this high in the single game slates. So they're usually in the 15K range. Now they're at 17. This one for me, Josh, is just so simple. I mean, Lamar Jackson is going to be 100% owned at the MVP spot, and then in general as a flex option, and then he's probably going to be upwards of 85 to 90% in the MVP spot for cash. So do you see any way around that for tournaments? How would you approach it, maybe?
I don't. I mean, like, the thing is, I really don't see any way around it. I think Lamar Jackson is the clear favorite to be the MVP. I guess you could put Carr at MVP and see how it works out for you. He's going to be behind most of the game, and there are plenty of weapons that I do think take a step forward this season. As in, Darren Waller should be even season. I think Ruggs is going to be really good, and I know he's had a really great connection with Bryan Edwards. If that's the case and they're able to get something started, then maybe Carr could pay off at MVP. But the fact that Lamar does have that upside of being a rushing QB and a true rushing QB just makes it really hard to fade Lamar when it comes to the MVP spot.
Yeah, it's super tough. I don't think I have the stones to even do it in tournaments. That's how confident I feel on this play. Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. Francisco, we did get the news that Bell and Freeman are both going to miss this game. It makes sense. I mean, I don't think that they were even ready to go for next week either. So we'll see how that goes and monitor that. I know this thing's going to get grosser as the season goes on, but for right now, I think you can feel comfortable here. Let's look at these running backs really quick. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell was actually the highest. Well, Tyson Williams was the highest price guy before. So 12K for Tyson. Very interesting. He had a very, very solid preseason. For those of you who played preseason NFL DFS, we did roster this guy a few times. So he looks good. He looks NFL ready. And against this Raiders spot, and I say that the opponent ranking isn't really accurate. This one is 29th. Sounds exactly right. So yeah, I think that you can definitely roster some Tyson Williams today. And then yeah, Josh, let's look at where these other running backs are priced. You do have Bell at 9K. You have Murray at 8,000, who I think is in consideration. And then, we kind of have to treat this Murray play like Gus Edwards, right? Like, I think because he's very close. They're the exact same price. So I kind of treat it like that. I think Murray's going to get that Gus type role. This Baltimore team is going to rush the ball a lot tonight just because a lot of their weapons are hurt. And even on the wide receiver side of things, they're not completely healthy. So how do you approach this backfield? And what do you think of doing tonight in the single game format?
Yeah, I can at least get behind the Tyson Williams play at 12K. I think that, like I said, there was a report out this morning that he's expected to see a bulk of the Ravens carries, which I don't know exactly how many touches that means, but it makes me feel good about playing him against this bad Raiders defense. I think you're right. You definitely can't count out Latavius Murray, but for me, it's Tyson Williams or bust most likely.
Yep. Yep, from 100% agree with you. On DraftKings, we'll look at that later as well. But right now, I want to focus on FanDuel's single game format. You do have Derek Carr up at the top here. Really tough matchup for him, but it might be one of those spots where we faded Andy Dalton last night in that good defensive spot. Do you have any concerns for Derek Carr? Would you consider going Darren Waller over Derek Carr? Because I think that that's a very, very important decision to be made. Because I don't think with Tyson Williams on the board that you are able to do this at all. Like you can't do Lamar, Tyson, Derek Carr, and Darren Waller. So you have to fade one of these top five guys, including a Josh Jacobs, who I don't think I want to roll out tonight.
Oh, so you're telling me you're not willing to take all of those guys and then take Bo Scarborough at 5K? I don't know what you're talking about, Jared. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I agree with you. You kind of do have to make the decision. I guess here, let me see something. No, do you really have to make the decision? I don't think you necessarily do. I think that you can play all if you're going Vegas heavy, which isn't recommended necessarily. You would be fading Tyrod in this situation. Tyrod, geez, I'm gonna keep messing that up. Tyson Williams in this situation, but like if you go Carr, Edwards, Waller, have Lamar at the MVP, then at 9K you can get a kicker, you can get Kenyan Drake. There's a few options here that I definitely don't mind. I don't know. It's definitely the GPP route towards things. I know you're more the cash game perspective on these slates, but I feel like it's not a terrible option, unless you're going to call me crazy here.
No, no, it's not crazy. I think Williams fading is definitely in the cards. I don't know if I obviously have to do a little bit more research as the day goes on, but that would be a little bit scary to fade. Even though there are still three guys and even four guys if you count Lamar that can run the ball. So for me, though, the first thing that stands out is that Justin Tucker is sitting at 9K, like you alluded to. Justin Tucker, the best kicker in the league. They use him everywhere, and FanDuel actually gives you more points per what the yardage is. So they do have the option of, if he hits a 50-plus yard field goal, you get 5 points. And then obviously with the Ravens team total where it is, I think it's at 26 or 27. That obviously means that they're going to be scoring a lot of points, which means he gets all the kick, PATs, and then the ability to possibly continue to keep getting field goals. So I think this is a spot where Justin Tucker could go 3 for 3 or 4 for 4, as well as hit several extra points. So yeah, I like it quite a bit. I think Justin Tucker at 9K is a very, very respectable price tag for him and should be in a lot of lineups tonight. Moving down the list, you do have Daniel Carlson, who I'm not going to touch, kicker for the Vegas Raiders. Sammy Watkins is an interesting spot at 8K. Pretty gross for FanDuel just because I think his touchdown upside is limited. Let's see. The one guy we didn't talk about much is Mark Andrews yet, who's sitting at 11K, same price or about $1,000 to $1,000 over Marquis Brown at 10K. We already know that Baltimore is a run first team, but Mark Andrews did get paid last week, and I think that they use him as their wide receiver one this season. I'm interested in it, but obviously I would go Darren Waller over Mark Andrews, Josh.
Yeah, I would go. You said Darren Waller's over Mark Andrews?
Yeah, for me, the volume
Yeah,
is definitely there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would be a little bit concerned that all right, Andrews, you got paid and we have a decently easy matchup. Now it's time to go have a little celebration and show everyone why you got paid. And you don't pay a tight end that much money without, showing that he's a part of the game plan fully. But I don't know. I agree with you for the most part that you probably end up lining with going with Darren Waller over Andrews, but I like both of them.
Yeah, from the chat, Kai, our associate producer, says, "Why do I like Zay Jones today?" Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you like him either. On FanDuel specifically, yeah, it's pretty gross. But he probably makes a lot of things work for you here at 6K on FanDuel as a tournament option. Yeah, for me, that's pretty gross. I would much rather go with a guy like Hunter Renfrow, who obviously isn't going to blow through the roof or anything either, but he's a guy along with, I think that him and Bryan Edwards are in the same boat. I actually think Bryan Edwards is an interesting play tonight, even though he gets a really, really tough matchup. All these matchups are tough for the Vegas receivers. Not really much is going to go their way tonight, so I would much rather lean with guys that are going to get volume as well as touchdown dependency like a Darren Waller. And then, honestly, we have to talk about Jacobs now because, like we said earlier in the stream, he has an illness, but it's not COVID related. That's I never have a good feeling coming into a week where a guy doesn't feel good, especially in football. So, Josh, we have Kenyan Drake sitting here. We have Josh Jacobs sitting here as well. They're a couple $1,000s apart. How are you viewing this situation? Because I never really like to target the running backs against Baltimore's defense.
Yeah, neither do I, but I do think that you're going to see Kenyan Drake used as this third down back and a guy who's going to be in for a lot of passing down. So, like, I don't know. I think this Las Vegas team will be behind quite a bit. I think I like the price tag of 8,500. I think you could do worse on this slated at 8,500. So I think that Kenyan Drake is probably the guy that's more in play out of the two for me. And Jared, you better not disrespect my boy Zay Jones. Zay Jones, another guy that I know personally because he went to ECU with me. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Dude was one of the best college receivers in history. Holds the reception record right now for Division I football. Don't disrespect my boy Zay Jones, man. Zay Jones is my guy.
I do think he's more in play in Vegas than he was in his other experiences with Buffalo and across the league and other camps. But yeah, I think he's found a home here. They do need another receiver to step up. We both think that it's Bryan Edwards. They just need more, right? They need more from somebody. And Zay could be a guy that breaks out and does it if Bryan Edwards isn't up to snuff and can't get the job done early on. So yeah, I mean, 6K, maybe it's tournament consideration for me. But it's probably more of a DraftKings play for Showdown because I think his price tag is under 5K, so that should be great for him. Tim says, no hitter says Tim Tebow is also one of the greatest college football players of all time, and yet ... Yeah, I can agree with that.
Hey, y'all better stop disrespecting my guy here because I cannot stand the blasphemy that's going on in this chat right now about my boy Zay Jones.
Yeah, Kai says, yeah, Jared Zay Jones, GBP dart. Let's see. Think Ruggs uses his speed for a deep TD. I mean, I don't know. You don't have Marcus Peters on this team as the safety blanket and as the captain, so maybe they get a little bit disoriented on the defensive side. Yeah, it's very interesting to look at and to try to think about that and what they're going to do tonight. Yeah, people think Drake is sneaky. People think Drake's going to troll. Yeah, I mean, I can see Kenyan Drake being the troll guy. I mean, it is John Gruden, so he can do whatever he wants, and that's a terrible thing for a fantasy player. Yeah, Waller is going to torch him all game. Yeah, Patrick Queen's going to get Waller, Josh. And we've talked about how these young linebackers think that they can just come in and guard these tight ends. We saw that yesterday. Owusu was talking big game about stopping Travis Kelce. Kelce goes out and scores 2 touchdowns on him. So that's kind of how things are going to go. I think that that means that's why I kind of like Waller a lot in this game for that reason specifically.
Yeah, definitely. I like Waller a lot, and I think that he's definitely someone that you had to consider and feel really good about.
Yeah, do Raiders, Torrential Rain wants to know if the Raiders wide receivers get a boost from Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters being inactive. Yeah, Jimmy Smith also hurts too. They do have some secondary pieces that are still in play that are very, very good. So I think they get a little bit of a boost, and the fact that they also have a negative game script and are going to be passing for most of this game. I think second quarter on when the Ravens start to establish their dominance and their lead, I think that the wide receivers get a little bit of a bump. The problem is that there's just not much touchdown equity for anybody on this Raiders receiving core outside of Darren Waller. So I don't know. I mean, they're GPP options for sure. It's just we're looking for touchdowns. We have to capture all the touchdowns in the FanDuel single game format. We did that last night with all the Rams receivers and the running back. So yeah, that's what you're looking for in this game, in the FanDuel single game, as it is much different than DraftKings Showdown. Josh, anything else stick out to you really? I think that some people are saying that people are sleeping on Ruggs this year. I tend to agree with that. We are both pretty high on Ruggs and Edwards, so I guess can you kind of stomach rostering these guys in this spot?
For sure. I love rostering these guys in this spot. I like Ruggs at 9,500, but I feel like Edwards is just completely mispriced at 7K. I with all the talk around him in camp, maybe I'm just overhyping him a little too much, but I feel like this is your pay down guy almost at 7K. I really like the spot, and I like what it does for the rest of your build, right? Because you lock in Lamar, you lock in Derek, you lock in Bryan Edwards. leaves you with 11K per player for the last two spots.
Right.
You can put in Waller, and then you can still get someone at 9K like Justin Tucker. You can put in Tyson Williams and still get someone like a Marquis Brown, a Henry Ruggs, or again, Justin Tucker. Like I do like what Edwards can do for the rest of your build. So I think that Edwards is certainly in play, and it's going to be a good option. I just want to address the chat. Brian said, so Josh, is Zay in your lineup? Zay will definitely be in one of my lineups. Whenever I see someone that I personally know, whether it be college football and I see ECU playing, or it's a player that I know from the NFL, from my days of playing high school ball, I have to play them in at least one build. Braxton Berrios, another one of those guys that I played against. He was in one of my lineups yesterday, just because I do know him personally, and I feel like I'm almost obligated to. But just some other questions in the chat. It's a Hollywood kind of night, says JRD91. What do you think about Marquis Brown? Any interest?
Yeah, I was going to address him next. I also want to address the Willie Sneed comment that was in the chat. It is technically a revenge type narrative for him. I don't know if there's much merit to this at all, if any. So Willie Sneed, yeah, I mean, it's fine, but what did he really do as a Baltimore Raven? He was either hurt or he was wide receiver 3 at best. So just not able to get separation anymore in this league. And I don't think that we actually see him much on the field today, outside of maybe like one to three targets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will also say that Darren Waller birthday narrative today. It's his
there
birthday.
There it is. That's the best comment in the chat today. Anyway, all right. So obviously that is definitely something to note. The one guy we haven't talked about, which I know that I'm certainly dying to talk about. I'm not, but Marquis Brown. Good matchup on paper. This is a guy we kind of relied on late in the season last year, as he did score. He went on that massive streak outside of that 1 week where he didn't get a touchdown, but he had 6 weeks in a row with a touchdown. So that was pretty impressive to see. I don't know, man. I'm not feeling him for this slate. I understand why people would. His price tag is good. So I guess here's the thing. I would prioritize him over a guy like Justin Tucker. I would. But I mean, is this a spot maybe where we go 4-1 Baltimore and then fade one of Derek Carr or Darren Waller?
Potentially. I could definitely see that working out for you. It's kind of scary to fade Waller in my opinion, but I don't mind it.
Yeah, the thing for me is that I think Waller can get there. I think that he can get there and have a better game than Carr, but he needs to have a touchdown to do that. That's kind of what my first approach is. But you're always trying to find, for the single game and showdown portions, guys, you're always trying to find receivers that can outscore outscore their quarterback. And I think Waller is always in play to be one of those guys. Let's see. Torrential Rain wants to know Tucker over Watkins. For me, I actually want Tucker over Watkins in this spot. I think people are going to sleep on that play tonight, and could be I love to roster kickers in the single game format. A lot of you guys know that, but if you're new to the stream, I love prioritizing kickers on really, really solid offenses that have a high implied team total, especially on these single game slates. Let's see.
For sure.
So for GPPs, we'll take a few more questions, guys. So if you have any questions, post them in the chat. We're going to be live for probably the next 5 minutes, and then we'll call it a day for you. But yeah, I wanted to build, as the questions are coming in, I wanted to build a 4-1 Las Vegas stack with Lamar Jackson in it. So because I think that could be an option tonight. So pick a guy that you want at MVP for the Raiders, Josh.
Waller.
All right, let's do that. Now, I think that in this situation, I think that you do need Carr, because obviously the more touchdowns Darren Waller gets, those are going to be coming from Carr, hopefully, and not Mariota or something like that. So let's just put Lamar in there. Now that leaves us with 8K per player. Now, I don't think you can play Tyson Williams at this in this build, obviously, because we are doing a 4-1 of Las Vegas. So you got to skip all these guys. You got to skip Williams, got to skip Andrews, got to skip Brown. So now we're heading into guys like Henry Ruggs, guys like Kenyan Drake, guys like Daniel Carlson. Go even further down the list, Hunter, Renfrow, Brian Edwards. So where would you go here next?
Yeah, I think I would probably, in this game script, I don't really want I don't know if I want another Las Vegas pass catcher. Like, because if you're guaranteeing Waller is going to get the majority of those touchdowns, if you would think that if you're taking another one of these Las Vegas guys, you would probably switch Carr into the MVP spot.
Right.
Trying to find a guy that I like. I don't know. Is anyone jumping off the board to you? Like, I would say Edwards here, but I feel like that's a misplay if you're taking Edwards here.
Yeah, for me, I think that we roll with Daniel Carlson because
Okay.
I think that obviously if Darren Waller's putting up points and scoring touchdowns, Daniel Carlson will be involved in that, and that would also take some relief off of like it would just increase your leverage plays because you will be fading the other wide receivers. So that would be in the hopes of them having drives stall out. Darren Waller still getting his, but the drive stalls and then they kick a field goal and score points. So that's kind of what I want to do here. Leaves you with 7,500, so I think that we do have to consider one of these pass catching options. They just can't score a touchdown.
Yeah, for sure. We can go to, I don't know. I like Edwards here. I think Edwards is a solid option. I think Renfro is a solid option. I think also if you're not going to go to one of those guys, I don't terribly mind Devin Duvernay. Like, you're already fading Marquis Brown. You're already fading Mark Andrews. You got to assume they're going to pass something. And if Devin Duvernay might be the guy, he might be the guy, you know?
Yeah, if so, obviously we're doing a 4-1 with the Vegas side, but if you're doing a 3-2, I think that Devin Duvernay makes perfect sense for this build with Waller at MVP because you'd have to fade all the top guys for the Ravens, like you said. That means Mark Andrews and Hollywood don't get their touchdowns, and Devin Duvernay has been known to troll the world and have a 2 touchdown performance. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. So yeah, I think that that's interesting, right? So I like this build quite a bit for MVP. The birthday narrative sells me on Darren Waller tonight, even though I was sold already. But yeah, we'll take some questions in the chat here, and then we're gonna wrap this baby up.